Somebody said, oh, there's a traditional Latin mass. And I just went out of curiosity. It was instant conversion. I'd never seen anything like it. I was basically instantly converted. I mean, it was literally like that.
Hello, my friends. You know, when you're scrolling the internet, sometimes you'll see these people with various talents, sometimes really, really good talents. There's one of these guys I saw already over a year ago. He's a piano player. He plays like in a train station, and he just has got interesting conversations. People come by, he plays amazing piano. Sometimes there's guests who come up in the train station and play piano as well. And then he has all these funny interactions with all sorts of people, and it's stunning. Well, I saw this guy one day. There was someone who came up and gave him a miraculous medal, and he wasn't shy about it. In fact, he said he was Catholic too, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Didn't make a big deal of it. But then someone else gave him a rosary the same day, and I was like, whoa, what's going on here? But he was all pleased with it. He wasn't even shy about saying he was Catholic. And then one day, this same guy puts on a video, and it's a tour of his Latin Mass chapel. I kid you not. Stay tuned for this John-Henry Westen Show with none other than Brendan Kavanagh. We are doing everything we can to help keep Christ in the election. So please, if you're a U.S. resident, text LifeSite, LIFESITE, to 50155 and give what you can today. Let's proclaim Christ is King together. Brendan, so good you could join us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John-Henry.
Let's begin as we always do with the sign of the cross. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. It is so good to meet you. I know a lot of people will have seen you, perhaps not in this context, but a lot of people have enjoyed forever your music and just the life you bring to the internet, which can sometimes be a really dark place. Let's start off with you. Why do you do what you do, and how did you get started into this kind of very unique way of showcasing your talent, your gift, if you will, that you really give to the world?
I actually used to be a secondary school teacher, a high school teacher of English, and I trained as a teacher, but I didn't like the way the education system was going, so I thought I'd have a little change of profession, so I decided to do YouTube instead. And so that basically, I ended up a YouTube star. So it's as simple as that, really. It was a change of career, and I took my musical talents, took it to the street, and I just kind of have a knack for it. And it's basically bringing joy and free music to people.
This was able to sustain you from quitting your job, or was this done just in retirement, or how did this work?
Well, I'm not old enough to retire yet, John-Henry. But no, I mean, I always loved teaching, and I kind of went to university. I did all my higher degrees. I did a PhD, and I wanted an academic career. But when I got into teaching, I found that it was very different to how when I was at school, the micromanaging, the bureaucracy, and I wasn't allowed to be creative in my English lessons. And so instead of going down into depression, I decided to have a complete career change, and I started to do YouTube lessons. And then I gradually brought it into the public pianos, and it simply took off. I had a couple of viral videos and a lot of media attention. And the whole thing just blew up. There's something about public pianos and playing music in public that captures the public imagination. So I thank God that it's been a great success.
Tell us about one of your favorite moments. We're going to play a little clip of it, but tell us, set it up for us, if you would. One of your favorite moments so far captured.
I had a tete-a-tete with the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, about 7 months ago, who were down filming a propaganda video. It went worldwide, and they basically wanted me to delete my video. And we basically had a confrontation with them at the piano in St. Pancras that went viral throughout the world. Basically, we caught a Chinese spy in my live stream by mistake. So it turned into kind of like a James Bond film. And we've got massive fans now all over Asia. They see me as a kind of anti-CCP figure. And Boogie Woogie has become massive in Hong Kong, China, and Taiwan as a result of this CCP showdown I had about 7 months ago. So that was probably the most dramatic one, but there's been several minor incidents that have also captured the public imagination.
Just so that everyone knows, if no one's heard of you before, which I don't think is possible, but anyway, if you look up Brendan Kavanagh, he's got, I think your video, one of your videos anyways, just on YouTube is 41 million views, something like this. So you're really in the stratosphere in terms of people viewing what you're doing.
I mean, I do get recognized on the street, you know, I mean, particularly in London. But it's a quite nice it's a nice form of fame because I'm primarily on the internet. And the people who like my stuff, it's kind of like a bit of a cult following. They know me and I know them. And I meet a lot of people from the States who come over from England and who hang around the pianos just to meet me. But recently it's been getting quite Catholic for some reason. As you said, John-Henry, the lady gave me a miraculous medal. A whole family of African children wearing miraculous medals turned up at the piano. At the moment, we were in the middle of a novena to Our Lady when this happened. So I thought it was some kind of sign from our Blessed Mother that she was hearing the prayer. So
it's one thing that's so refreshing about you. When I first saw you react to that, it was shocking in this respect. The only time you see sort of famous people and they're sort of brandishing their faith, it's mostly around like sports stars. You know, they win the championship or something, they make the sign of the cross, or they do. So we're used to seeing it in sports, but all of a sudden it was outside that genre and in one of music that's not so much known for that. And there you were, not only so open to it, you were like, yeah, I'm Catholic. And you were sharing it like a matter of course. Not that you were shy about it. In fact, like you're proud of it. That's just beautiful.
I mean, I did think it was a providential moment. But what happened was when I did the tour of my traditional Latin Mass chapel, which I've set up in my stone barnyard, I actually got targeted by a group of fundamentalist Protestants who followed me around London for 3 days, targeting me, saying that I was supporting the Whore of Babylon and all this kind of stuff.
Oh gosh!
And I also had lots of drama with them. I didn't really put the stuff on YouTube, but that my whole Latin Mass video did get a backlash from the Bible fundamentalists, who are so. I didn't realize there was so much anti-Catholic feeling out there, and I've also now developed as a result of that a real hatred for heresy, which I never had before. Because these people, they think that we worship Mary. They think that we're idol worshippers. Talk about the cliches that you hear about Catholicism. But when you hear it brought to your face, and they're so stuck in their opinions, I actually came out of the encounter with a real hatred of heresy, which I've never really had before because I had it put in my face. So it's really taught me a lesson of how much anti-Catholic feeling there is out there when you actually kind of go public.
Let's take a look at that chapel. I just want to show everybody what you're talking about. This was part of your tour.
This is basically the chapel. It is 200 years old, unconverted, and you can even see the wooden beams are still up there, holding the whole thing together. This is what's called sanctuary, where the altar is. If you come through here, you'll see we've got the altar here. I'll start you here on the right-hand side. You've got the priest's chair there. We have this beautiful tapestry which dates from the 1870s of Our Lady, handmade, 150 years of age, and absolutely exquisite. Here again, you have a section devoted to Our Lady. You've got a Russian icon there, which is full of rich symbolism. You've got Our Lady of Perpetual Help there. And of course, here you have the altar itself. Now, if you don't know what a Catholic altar looks like, one of the central features of a Catholic altar is that it has what's called an altar stone. Now, this is what an altar stone looks like. I actually picked this up from an antique shop, and it's got 5 crosses on it, symbolizing the 5 wounds of Christ. And there you can see that it's been sealed up. Inside that are relics of saints and martyrs, and that's put into the altar. And Mass is said over this, because originally the Masses were said over the altars of martyrs in the catacombs. That's how the Mass started. And of course, if you turn over here, you'll see that this was consecrated at Westminster Cathedral in 1948. So a very old altar stone. This here, if you do this closely of this reliquary, this is actually quite a large bone relic, a first-class relic of, if you can see the writing, I don't know if you can see, it says St. Thomas the Apostle, who was known as Doubting Thomas. So he died in India, and we've got a relic of him here, the original Doubting Thomas. He was the disciple who missed it when Christ resurrected, and he didn't believe, and he said, I have to put my hands in the side of Christ, Doubting Thomas. So that's his relic there.
That's really, really beautiful. I do want to come back to the sort of you being attacked by fundamentalists, but tell us about this chapel first, because this is gorgeous. We had a little clip of what you play. I encourage anybody who wants to see the full tour, go to Brendan's channel and check out the full tour of his chapel. But there are a lot of beautiful, beautiful pieces in there. And it's in a beautiful barn. I mean, they called it a barn. It looks so great. Where did you get so much of that? It's like ancient artwork. How is that possible?
Basically, it was a labor of love, because I went around all the old church antique shops and around convents that were getting convents that were dying out, and they were selling off all their pre-Vatican II stuff. So I collected the stuff over about 2 years. I got a beautiful first-class relic of St. Thomas the Apostle, the huge big bone relic, which I picked up. I got an illuminated manuscript created by a nun 100 years ago. I've got some amazing stuff. And the fact that the stone barn is 200 years old, it is actually like going into a sort of time machine when you go in there. It really takes you back into a different era. So the whole feel is I feel blessed that we've got the stone barn chapel, but it has been a labor of love, Henry.
This October 17th and 18th, we are going to be running Rome Life Forum in Exile. We're doing that in Kansas City, Missouri. This fine bishop, Bishop Joseph Strickland, sort of in exile, is going to be joining us there, as well as Dr. Janet Smith, as well as prophecy expert Xavier Arel, and many more, including a special guest. Hope to see you there. Hope to see you there. God bless you. RomeLifeForum.com. Sign up now.
There's a real blessing for you and your family to have access to a chapel like that, where you can almost literally step back into time. But then you've had masses celebrated on your own property in the chapel as well.
We've actually had 3 masses said so far. Now, we use a lot of cancelled priests, so I'm not going to say the names of the priests, but for myself, I'm very much into traditional Latin Mass, and I really don't care if someone's from the Society of St. Pius X or if they're a diocesan priest, so long as they're Orthodox and say the traditional Mass, I'm a friend of theirs. So we have a few contacts, a few cancelled priests who've come here and said it quietly. It's a private chapel, so it's word of mouth. I invite a few close friends, but the last Mass, we had 50 people here, so it is growing. I hope we're not going to get cancelled by the bishop. So
you're Catholic, and that's sort of normal. How did you get to be a Latin Mass Catholic?
I found the traditional Latin Mass in 1999 when I was studying in County Cork in Ireland. And I had lapsed for a number of years. I was brought up in the Novus Ordo, and I kind of instinctively didn't want to go to a Novus Ordo Mass. And somebody said, oh, there's a traditional Latin Mass. And I just went out of curiosity, and it was instant conversion. I'd never seen anything like it. I was basically instantly converted. I mean, it was literally like that. And I just thought, my goodness, I've never experienced anything like it. I mean, everyone has different reactions, but my one was instant conversion. So I love the traditional Mass. It is, as Father Faber said, the most beautiful thing this side of heaven. And I think it's a heartbreaking that the younger generation are being deprived of their heritage by the Vatican rulership. So I think we need to take matters into our own hands. And I notice even on social media, I see a lot of people, not just me, setting up their home chapels in preparation for what's to come.
The Mass that you attended, the first one where you fell in love, was it a high Mass, like with the music, or was it what was it? And was it the music that struck you as well?
No, I know it wasn't a high Mass. I'll tell you what it was that converted me. I saw a family of traditional Catholics of who had 8 young children, and they all came in wearing mantillas, And I'd never seen anything. And it was actually those children and their attitude in combination with the mass that converted me, because I had never seen anything like it before. And I was completely touched. And it was just so culturally different to what I had experienced in the Novus Ordo that it was basically instant conversion. So it was the children, they're bearing the reverence. It wasn't a sung mass, but it was a beautiful church. But it was just me. I was just vibing with it.
Now you do music with the traditional Latin Mass now, and that adds to it beautifully. I have been to a number of high masses where the music is just beautiful. And a lot of the time, most people aren't singing with it. I have some singing background in Latin, so I do some of that. But for the most part, people are listening. And there's some Palestrina. Well, actually, you know what? You're the musician. Let me ask you, what is it, do you think, about the music? There's Gregorian chant, and then there's something called Palestrina. Tell us a little bit about the music at Mass, and what is that, and what does it do, and why is it special compared to the songs that were developed in the 70s. You'll hear it sometimes at the Novus Ordo masses.
Well, of course, a Gregorian chant has a power in itself. I've been listening to Father Ripperger saying that those people who are suffering from demonic oppression should be playing low-level Gregorian chant around their house all day because the demons can't stand it. So there's a certain power, spiritual power, to the Gregorian chants, just as there's a kind of spiritual power to the traditional icons and the traditional imagery of Catholicism. So the music itself contains a sanctifying element. I like polyphony and I like just plain Gregorian chant, but we've also got an organ out there as well. So I am looking forward to brushing up on my Kyrial and having some sung masses here. But of course, the music, as Pius X said, if you sing, you pray twice. And I concur with that.
There's many who don't know. What is polyphony and why is it special?
Well, polyphony is when the voices harmonize, when you have a harmonized voices, whereas Gregorian chant tends to be on a monotone. Okay, so polyphony is kind of more Renaissance, and it's beautiful. But I like both forms. I like just the plain normal Kyrial sung mass, Mass 8. It's fine, but each to their own. Sacred music, I think, is a lost art. And I think we're all sick and tired of the Novus Ordo Kumbaya culture, I think we need to go back to the Gregorian chant. And I think the current Vatican leadership is frightened of the fact that so many youngsters, despite all the attempts to ban the Mass, are going to the traditional Mass, are rediscovering tradition, despite all the attempts to cancel it. So I think the Vatican is very, very worried that all this stuff is going to upset the synodal church. So we've got to keep working at it, John-Henry.
So let's get back to this attack on you. So you're challenged to answer for the faith that you express, or how did this go? I
was targeted by a guy called Jono, who runs a born-again Protestant fundamentalist YouTube channel called Apologetics London. And he did a sneak video of me. He came up to me when I was playing and he said he wanted to interview me about music. And within about 1 minute, he started attacking me about Catholicism. And I thought, whoa, I'm in the middle of making a music video. Now, this guy was not up for a debate, okay? He was just shouting. You couldn't debate with these people. They are so anti-Catholic. It was like dealing with Oliver Cromwell on steroids. So there was no point having I can deal with an intelligent catechetical debate, but these people were fundamentalist Catholic bigots. They believe that Our Lady is a demon. They believe that we worship idols. They've got all sorts of misconstrued ideas about the holy sacrifice of the Mass. And as I said, I came out with that with a fundamental hatred of heresy, because when we hear about heresy, we say, oh yeah, we don't like it. But when you're with these fundamentalists who hate the Catholic Church so much, you really think, oh my goodness, how are these people going to get out of this darkness? Because they won't even listen to reasoned arguments. So the Catholic hatred out there is very, very real. And it was the first time I had experienced it playing the organ. It
was Fulton J. Sheen who said something like, there are, 98% of people who hate the Catholic Church hate it for what they think it is. Less than 2% hate it for what it really is. And that's very, very true. It's stunning. And what I find funny is that as a Catholic, when you try and explain to them where they've got it wrong, they basically think, no, you're totally brainwashed. It's really what I'm telling you.
What I've noticed also about the fundamental Protestants, I mean, I'm not bashing, because I'm sure some good fundamentalists wrote to me and apologized on behalf of these nuts who attacked me. So I did get some good fundamentalists. I'm not attacking all fundamentalist Protestants, okay? The fact that they won't listen to reason and they are so convinced of their ideas is unbelievable. And they all think they're going to heaven. The presumption is off the charts. They accept our Lord and they think they're going to heaven. And we Catholics, we have to kind of work out our salvation in fear and trembling, but they believe that they're already saved. And the kind of spiritual pride behind that was quite palpable. They think all the Catholics are going to hell, they're going to heaven. And so really, to be honest, it was like talking with a robot. And eventually the police were called.
One of the things that you're obviously seeing is that the expression of faith, the especially open expression of faith, is bringing with it the challenges that come with that, because I think you offend the old boy. It's fine if you're talented and you can do your own thing and you're making your living, you're doing whatever and getting fame. But once you start to involve the truth, especially the truth of Christ, someone comes at you with a vengeance. Is that going to deter you at all?
No, I know that when you do anything with Catholicism and you go slightly public with it, the devil, you have a mark on your back. So I do my Auxilium Christianorum prayers every day. I listen to Father Ripperger. I do the rosary. We do the family rosary. And I think, as Father Ripperger said, if you stay in your lane, you keep in the state of grace, there's not so much the demons can do. The problem is if you fall into mortal sin, that's when you get problems. But I think if you just stay in the state of grace, you say your rosary, you do as I said, I do the Auxilium Christianorum prayers, do the St. Michael prayers, and you keep up your spiritual life. I mean, there's only so much the demons can do, right? So I think it's just a question of us keeping our spiritual life in good form to avert. But no, it's not going to put me out. And I think the times we're coming into now, you have to wear your faith on your sleeve. There's no staying neutral, okay? War's just about to break out with Russia. There's a potential chastisement coming. So I think it's about time. People need to nail their colors to the mast. And I would hate for no one to know that I was traditional Catholic all this time. So I've nailed my colors to the mast. I've come out loud and proud, and let the chips fall where they may.
Beautiful. Any final words for us, Brendan, before we end off here?
If you want to find my YouTube channel, it is Boogie Woogie and Rock and Roll Piano, okay? But some people have said to me that they want me to live stream a full mass here in the Stone Barn Chapel, which I might do. A lot of non-Catholics are very interested in it. And so for me, it's almost a form of apostolate. Social media is the new form of the apostolate. So for me, I'm going to do a little side apostolate by putting the occasional Latin Mass video on and even inviting one or two fans in due course. So I think what I would say, now's the time. If you're on social media, you have to come out as a traditional Catholic, particularly if you love the traditional Latin Mass. You've got to start standing up against a regime in the Vatican that wants to cancel tradition. And let's just keep ourselves in a good spiritual state in preparation for the things to come. That's what I would say.
Amen. Brendan Kavanagh, thank you so much for joining us. God bless you.
Thank you, John-Henry. God bless you.
And God bless all of you. And we'll see you next time.